And also, I printed out a pamphlet today that you had called the Strip the Lipstick Off the Pig, and there's 2 phone numbers there for a listening audience who comes listening in from the United States. I wanted to quickly share the 2 phone numbers that the American listeners can call. One is a Senator Kerry, 617-565-8519, and then there's Senator Brown, 617-565-3170. And could you tell us a little bit about this Strip the Lipstick Off the Pig?
Well, those are a couple of Democratic senators in the U.S. Senate. I'm not sure what the phone calls to them were about. This is I post lots of articles and flyers and blogs written by other people. I think this was a flyer put together by a guy named Cole Harrison, who's heading up the Afghanistan working group within United for Peace and Justice. But the theme of stripping the lipstick off the pig is of course, a very important one, and what we were just talking about, and the pig being the $33 billion more for an unpopular war, something that might prove difficult to pass in the Congress, at least on its own. And so the fight right now in the Rules Committee in the House is over whether they can have a vote just on that money alone, or they can only have it in combination with a million other things, including aid to earthquake victims in Haiti, aid for flood relief in the United States, for victims of hurricanes, for victims of tornadoes, for victims of every disaster known to man except for the war, of course, but even aid for U.S. veterans from the Vietnam War still suffering from Agent Orange, and a little bit of foreign aid and all kinds of goodies in there, and potentially $23 billion for to prevent layoffs of teachers in U.S. schools at the state level. If all of that stuff is put in the bill, then you will have Congress members quite disingenuously pretend that they can't vote against it because they don't want to vote against those good things. That's one of many common excuses. And you have Congress members now out there advertising that they want that excuse, publicly saying that, well, I would like to vote no, but if the leadership puts all this other good stuff in there, then I'll vote yes. Sort of publicly making clear what it will take to buy them off.
Yeah, and also, I just wanted to quickly point this out. Today there was an article that was passed over to me by the people, the War Resistor Committee. And what it was from the U.S. Today, and it's titled, In Canada, Once More, U.S. Troops Fleeing the War. And what happens is that about 200 war resistors in Canada right now seeking sanctuary. It must be New Day with my lips, probably. What happens is there's a private member bill in the federal Canadian Parliament. It's called Bill C-440, which calls on our government to stop deporting U.S. war resistors and allow them to become permanent residents of Canada, which I fully support. We'll begin second reading in the House of Commons. Now, what happens, I call upon all the listening audience right now, whether you're from the United States or Canada, find out who the members of Parliament are for our federal Canadian Parliament. Go on the internet, look up their names, start sending them emails in support of allowing these war resistors to stay here. One gentleman is just up the street from our studio, Rodney Watson. He's sitting in the First United Church right now. He cannot step foot off the First United Church property. What will happen is he'll be arrested and he'll be deported. He has a young child here. He just got married, and that's the kind of message that the government wants to send. And there's also Jeremy Heinzman is at this time, he's going before a basically hearing to see whether he's allowed to stay here in Canada or he's going to be sent home. So I just wanted to quickly raise that note. And what is your thoughts on the war resistors allowed to stay here in Canada?
I completely agree with you. Couldn't agree more. Americans are and have been grateful to Canada to the extent that it has served as such a sanctuary, just as we're grateful to prosecutors in Italy and Spain who pursue the crimes of U.S. officials that our own justice system allows to pass by. I think that the United States is in very, very bad shape internally and needs all the help it can get from our neighbors around the world, and this is one thing that Canada can do. Every individual in any military in the world has an absolute duty to disobey illegal orders, and for at least 50 years, that has been understood in international law, and the excuse of following orders was dismissed at Nuremberg, as it should have been. And we have resistors in the United States who are refusing illegal orders directly, and in some cases going to jail, and some of them have served those terms and been released. But those who have been unable to do that and have gone AWOL are, in at least one sense, refusing to follow illegal orders. And any order to send a soldier into Iraq or Afghanistan or any other foreign occupation is an illegal order. We ought to be applauding these heroes. We ought to be honoring their sacrifices, as we always call it. And to the extent that Canada can help, we are very, very grateful. I know it's a big fight in Canada, and things may turn sour, but we hope that they don't.
And also, there's another question I'd like to ask you. What can the people of the United States do in order to stop this imperial presidency and at the same time return the power back to the Congress and back to the people of the United States underneath the U.S. Constitution?
Well, it would be very helpful, I think. This is something I haven't given a lot of thought to before, but it would be very helpful, I think, if the Canadian government were routinely addressing itself to the United States government in the way that the United States Constitution calls for, but current practice forgets, and that is to treat the United States Congress as the body that makes the laws. Within the United States, it's become accepted that presidents write laws, rewrite laws, violate laws at their whim, determine spending, determine wars, and it's something that's become accepted across the political spectrum and within the Congress itself. And it's extremely dangerous, as the people who wrote our Constitution 2.25 centuries ago fully understood. So if those abroad with voices that can penetrate the U.S. communication system were addressing Congress as the body that makes relevant decisions on international policy, on trade relations, on military decisions, on environmental regulations, and so forth, rather than speaking to the president as if he is a legislator, I think it could be very helpful, and it could cause some eyebrow raising within the United States as newspaper readers try to figure out what they're reading.